Happy holidays, y'all. Follow me along today as I show you how to make a very easy pâté for your next Christmas party. Alright guys, so this right here is some chicken livers. It's fresh chicken livers. And so it's roughly a little over 1¼ pounds. So very inexpensive. You can't buy beef for that amount. I got this at Walmart. It's a little bit more expensive. My local grocer sells it a little cheaper than this, so I probably could get it for about $1.75. But at either rate, we're going to take these out and start trimming these up. So I'll show you that. The trick to all this really is scissors. You just try and get that white piece, anything that might be tough or you don't want, you want to go ahead and cut that out, and the best way to do it is with scissors. Alrighty, so I got these back in a container. I am now adding in, I've got roughly a cup of milk. I may not need the whole cup of milk, but it is whole milk, and you always want to check your livers, because sometimes you don't even get livers, and sometimes the livers are bad. These are all usually mechanically separated, and not the greatest care is sometimes used. So if it has spots on the liver, it looks like it might be diseased, just don't use it. These had kidneys in them. So there was like 3 or 4 kidneys, and so don't hurt anything, it's not liver. But all I'm doing now is trying to make sure everything is fully encased with milk. That's really about ½ a cup is all I used. Again, just eyeball it. Different vessels will contain different amounts of milk. I use the same vessel because I just need enough milk to get all flavors out of this. And so this will soak overnight. I used a butter knife to gently stir this and to get rid of all the air bubbles. And so it only took ½ cup of milk. That's good. I'll use the rest for something else, so don't worry, it won't go to waste. And we'll put lid on this, put it in the refrigerator. I will see you back in 12 hours. Alright, so I've got 1 stick or ½ cup of butter. This is salted butter in a 2½ quart stew pot, or saucepan, sorry. I'm very upset with the local grocery stores. They don't have a lot of the ingredients that I want to make a very elevated pâté, so we're going to be doing a very accessible pâté. I'm going to show you how to do it when you don't have a lot of ingredients, because evidently the grocery stores no longer want to carry the items like shallots, herbs de Provence, all that. So we're just using simple, this is Sam's Club butter. I use Walmart chicken livers. We're using stuff that you have easy access. So salted butter. We're getting this melted down. As soon as we do that, we're going to add in 1 onion. I'm using a yellow onion because I couldn't get my shallots. And so I'm going to throw in some very thinly sliced and diced yellow onion into this butter in just a minute. Alright, that is 1 onion, roughly about, a cup, in this pan of butter. I'm going to slowly cook it with just a little bit of pepper. It's already salted butter, so I'm not going to add salt now to it. But we're going to slowly cook this. I'm going to put some black pepper in there to taste. And then we're going to go to the next step. And you notice I really didn't take much care on how I cooked the onions. That's because this is going to be blended. So if you're a novice cook or something other and you want to do something to really wow somebody, this is a way to do a very upscale dish and not really need a lot of skill. It's one of those rare dishes where you can do that. So this is a great one to play around with. Now you can use whatever black pepper you like. I like to use McCormick's peppercorn medley grinder. And the reason for that is it has coriander and allspice in it, along with pink peppercorns and white peppercorns and all that. So it gives you a more rounded flavor. You'll notice I'm not really cooking these hard. I've got this on a medium low, and I'm just slowly cooking these onions. A lot of the YouTube videos that you see, they will do this, and they'll have the onions just cooking really hard and fast, trying to brown them up. But if you cook them slower, they'll sweeten up, and so you get a better flavor out of your onions. Alright, so the grocery store had a pitiful selection, and I had these 4 little small cloves of garlic that I was able to get out of a small bulb, and so I'm going to toss these in. Now you want to toss in your garlic as your onions kind of get that clear stage, what we call translucent. And the onions are now soft. You can see the difference when I toss the garlic in, how it's white versus the onions are getting kind of that clearish, milk juggish looking color. It's opaque, but it's not bright white like it was. That water's cooking out. And you don't want to throw in the garlic with the onions immediately because the garlic will burn. It burns faster than onions. So this way you can get them in there and get them cooking. I also don't like to smash up my garlic. If you smash the garlic, it will make it hot. I want this to have a good garlic flavor, so I leave the cloves whole. We're going to blend this up so they'll eventually get broken down. But right now it's almost like they're slow roasting. They'll get sweet and have a really good flavor. Alright, it's been about a minute later, and I'm adding in now a half of a teaspoon of ground allspice. This is totally optional, but I really like it. Now you'll notice their garlic is about the same color as the onions. It's been about 3 to 4 minutes later. And this is where we're going to drain our livers and add them in. I just use a handheld strainer to strain these out. The milk has a strawberry milk look to it. A lot of people will tell you that you got to pat these dry. You don't have to pat them dry. You can just toss them in. To this, I'm going to add a half tablespoon of dried thyme. This is normally where I'd be using herbs de Provence, but I can't find any. So this is actually more classical though. I am going to turn up my heat on to high. You only want to cook the livers until they're pink inside. They should look like a medium rare steak, a 130 to 135 degree steak. The reason why it's pink inside is that chicken livers have a lot of myoglobin and stuff in them, and so they're very dark organ meat. So when they're cooked all the way through, they're still pink. You can't go by the color, you gotta go by temperature. And so they're so small, a minute on each side at high temperature is usually all you need. Now we're going to go in with a 1/4 cup brandy. By it. cut off temperature, and I'm adding in 1 cup of heavy cream. This is now where I'll take my immersion blender and blend this into a nice puree, although you can use a regular blender or food processor, whatever you like. Alright, this is where you taste it and see what you want to add. I need to add some salt. Alright, now we're going to add in 4 tablespoons or half a stick of butter to thicken it up a little bit and add a little bit more fat content. Sometimes, no matter what you do, the livers will always be a little bit bitter. After doing all this, I tasted it was still just a little bit bitter, so my little trick is take about 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda, add it in, then bring it back to a heat. I've got my immersion blender, and this will help tone down any bitterness that you get. You'll still get a liver flavor, but it'll be very mild and in the background to a point that people will like, what is that? You'll have more of a metallic, heavy mineral flavor without that distinct liver flavor. If you find that your reconstituted or reheated pate is trying to break, don't worry. All you need to do is add just a little bit of cold butter or a splash of cold heavy cream, and it'll come back together, so no worries. So when this is done, you just put them in some containers. This is a little micro loaf tin that I got from Walmart. You can get them 5 for $1. This right here came from Walmart. It's a little not Corningware, but Corningware type little vessel, little micro casserole dish. It's probably about 5 by 5, something like that, and only about 1.5 inches high. But meant for dips, anything of that nature. Any serving vessel will work. I've even seen small glass jars used. Now we need to top this off with some butter. I took a stick of butter, so 8 tablespoons, and about a half teaspoon, quarter teaspoon of dried thyme, and I'm going to spoon that over this. Okay, so we got some toast points, and I did put some of this on here, of this pate. Now, you have to realize that pate is as diverse as mole is to Mexico. So if you think of France, every region has its own type of pate, and with that region, every family just about has a different recipe for it. And so you end up with thousands of different types of pates. So in Burgundy, that's a farming region that makes Burgundy wine, and it has its own type of French cuisine that's known for bold, robust flavors. They actually make a type of pate, or terrine as they call it, that is almost like Leberkäse in German. Leberkäse no longer uses liver, but the old recipes used to use liver, and so it's liver and pork mixed together. And you have that in France, that they mix the liver and pork together. Very little to no butter, and unless it's super wealthy families, most do not come with cream. Then you go to the Champagne region, and they actually have meat inside of their pate. It's not this creamy unctuousness. Now, if I were to venture guess and say where this came from, I would think this is more Parisian. It deals a lot with creams and butters, things that would have been very opulent and hard for the average person to get. So this would be something for somebody of higher class. Now, I use chicken livers, you can use calf liver, you can use whatever you wish. The way that I did it is considered to be traditional here in America. But if you live abroad, you may know pate by a different style, and that will be determined by whatever area of France influenced your notion of what French food is. So in this case, this is considered to be French style here in America, although I'm acknowledging there's multiple different variations to French style. So let's try this. Now you can use toast, that is traditional. Toast, hot toast, cold pate. And that is pretty ubiquitous across France, that you want your pate cold, but you don't want it so cold that it doesn't spread. So take your pate out of the refrigerator and let it sit for about an hour, and that will take care of the spreadability. Mine was very spreadable. You had a little bit of stiffness from the butter, but once you broke that fat cap, the meat there was definitely that spreadable meat. Now I'm using just regular old bread that's been toasted with a little bit of butter. You could have cornichons, which are pickles. You could do, I've seen people take and caramelize onions. You can do whatever you wish to have with this. Or you can just have on side, people eat it with a charcuterie platter. And that's a good thing to do. Charcuterie is very easy to do, especially if you find a good low-cost grocer selling quality items. Now, I'm not sponsored by Aldi's, but Aldi's, that is a great place to get charcuterie items. Their smoked salmon that they sell is cheaper than any place I can find, and it's better than any place I can find. So you could have a charcuterie platter very easily, very inexpensively, and then put out a pate, maybe a bottle of wine, and now you're an all-star when you have minimal cooking technique or experience. This does not take somebody that knows a lot about cooking to make this. There's a thing about nutrient density. Liver is probably the most nutrient dense organ meat that you can eat. And a lot of people, there's now this movement to nutrient density. You can't get that from veganism. You can't get that from traditional American diet. You've got to go back to the basics. And our ancestors, they ate a lot of organ meat. You have to be careful with it. Everything in moderation. This is very, very rich. And you could say that pate is the gateway meat spread to organ meats. Even though this is made of liver, I hate liver. I mean, I will cook with liver. I use liver as a seasoning, but for me to just grab some chicken livers, fry it up, and eat them, which is very southern, I cannot do that. I gag every time. But with this, it takes away all those elements that makes the liver unpalatable. And you could even add a little bit of vermouth to this to sweeten up. Use a sweet vermouth. That would help out. You could add a few more onions into this, or some shallots, or shallots as we say in here in America. The shallots are going to be sweeter than an onion. I couldn't find it at the grocery store, but sweet onions definitely add, and I couldn't find any sweet onions either. I had just regular yellow onions, or what we call Spanish onions here in the South. So the sweetness makes the liver taste better. The butter helps, the cream helps. You really can't taste the brandy. You could add more brandy if you wanted to. This is a very forgiving recipe. I think you should try it. It's a very good recipe, and it's something to wow people. Now, I'm not one to not tell people what they're eating. I don't believe that's right. People should know what they're eating. But if you laid it out at a party, it's hard to say, well, who made this? What is it? All that. It's hard to do. But if you laid this out at a party and people were just saying, oh, it's spread with this, very few would ever grasp this was liver. They would just say, wow, this is a really neat meat spread with a lot of, everybody says umami, just means savoriness. This is savory, this is creamy, has a little bit of a back note of metallic that you get from the liver. I'm not going to lie, you will get some of that back note of liver, but it's not going to be noticeably liver. It's going to be that metallic taste. You're going to realize this is rich in minerals, and this is rich in nutrients, but you won't know where it came from, what it is. You'll think it's just some type of seasoning. If you added more brandy, you added a little bit more cream, you added sweeter onions, you may not even taste that. Me, I was trying to get shallots. I was trying to get the ingredients I like. Grocery store didn't have it. This is the poor man's option. To think this right here is what Louis XIV would have been eating, the King of France. This would have been something that he would probably be eating, and he would be happy with this and think that this is fantastic. And yet in our time, this would be something that a poor person could very easily make. So give it a try. Let me know what you think of it, and I'll see y'all guys again next time. Bye.